The first principle of movement that I like to share with you that you learned when you were a child growing up was about balance and gravity. Now, gravity is a law. You first learned how to sit, then you learned how to crawl, and then you learned how to walk. And over the next 2 or 3 years, up to the age of 5, that was all refined. And perfect balance and gravity looks like this. On the whiteboard, I've got just a basic illustration here. That's a foot. And when we're perfectly balanced, our center of gravity is right back here at the ankle. So the weight goes through the heel. So 70% of our weight we should carry at our heel and 30% at the front of our foot. Now, when we've got that relationship working, it feels even, though it is 70-30. And for most of you, your balance has been compromised. And now, as we have less than best balance, we get the strain. I'd like to give you a quick example. I'm going to ask you to stand up off the seat you're sitting at in front of your computer, and I'll get you just to join in with me. Now, once you're standing, I'm going to ask you to hold one arm out in front of you here, and I'm going to ask you to reach an extra 10 inches out there. So just reach out there for 10 inches, and as you're reaching out there, just stay there for a moment. Where do you feel the weight down in your feet? For most of you, 9 out of 10 people feel the weight at the front of their foot, and that's pretty common. All right, so just ease off just there. So I'm going to ask you to do something else. Is down here in the groin, we have a crease. This is the crease for the hip joint. The ball and socket for the hip joint is way down here. So I'm going to ask you to put both fingers in that little crease just there like that, and I'm going to ask you just to shift your bottom towards the wall behind you. So your butt goes backwards, 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 and this will feel strange, and it can go backwards even more and even more. We keep our eyes out here looking at the monitor where you are. Just go backwards, 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 all the way out the back until you just feel a little tug up the back of your leg and come back up again. Now, for many of you, that will feel strange, like you're sticking your butt out the back for miles. That's because your muscle memory is not familiar with using your hip joint through that range of movement. Your muscle memory is somewhere different. So I just want you to do one more of those. Just put your finger in your groin, shift backward, 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 and you'll feel most of the weight will be back in your heel, but it kind of feels even, and come back up again. So this time we'll go back and compare your old autopilot or your old muscle memory. Reach out there, but don't let your bottom travel backwards like that. As you reach out there, you'll feel the weight going to the front of your feet. Now just stay there. If someone gave you a nudge, what's going to happen? You're on your face. And stay there. Can you feel the strain? Maybe stiffness, tightness in the muscles out the back of your legs and all the way through. Some people even feel into the neck. Now just come back from there. That sensation that you feel there, you're probably very familiar with that. It might be a twinge or a jab or just a tightness or stiffness. Stiffness, again, that you feel and you think, that's normal. So just do that again. Don't let your bottom travel backwards, reach out there. And you're straining yourself and come back. Now that's harm occurring to your body. Now let your hip drift backwards so that you have this perfect balance. As you go out the back, does that take the stiffness away? And I'm sure it does. It takes the strain away. Maybe it takes the pain or the ache or the twinge or the sore away. So why do you now move like this instead of this? The reason this has happened, you've all heard the words, keep your back straight. Now, someone has always been on our case about keeping our back straight. And what everyone has done is kept their back straight vertical. And what happens is we tilt like a rod and we become unstable. We've got less than best balance. Now, balance has two elements, stable and unstable. This is unstable. This is stable. All right? So I'm going to get you to try this. Feel the effect of these words. Keep your back straight and reach out in front of you. And the weight goes to the front. Now I'm going to ask you, just change the words around. Don't keep your back straight. Let your back move. Don't keep it straight. And now reach out there. And now you pivot on the hip joint. You see, for every action, there's equal and opposite reaction. Simple physics. As something goes backwards, something has to go forward, and we pivot on the ball and socket. The words keep your back straight has stopped everyone from pivoting on the ball and socket at the hip joint to create the counterbalance to have perfect balance and gravity and not strain themselves. So when we're doing tasks through life and living, at the kitchen sink, at the boot of the car, washing your hands, brushing your teeth, picking something up off the floor, reaching across the dining table. All that stiffness that you feel is because the weight's always going to the front of your feet and you're straining yourself. Now, if you don't strain yourself, you create this counterbalance by letting your back move. Now, try this. Keep your back straight. Reach out there and you lock yourself up. Now, don't keep it straight. And you move. But you see, don't keep your back straight doesn't mean slouch or bend your back. All we're doing, the back is still actually straight. We're just pivoting on the ball and socket. And that little movement I showed you before, going backwards in this manner, that, and it felt strange because it's not in your muscle memory to move like that anymore. Now, most 13-year-olds have already lost this counterbalance as they move. And so we're now stiff. And that was the beginning of losing our suppleness and freedom of movement and we became stiff. So I'm going to write on the board here. So most people are unstable. They get too much weight to the front of their feet, which results in strain. The solution is best balance. All we have to do, if we've got best balance and we work with gravity, then we don't get the strain. Now, as a child, you programmed what I term a pro-gravity movement system into your motor cortex, into your muscle memory. You will learn to work with gravity. Now, we're working against gravity. Now, when you defy gravity, there's always a consequence. It's only a small degree of consequence. Now, you imagine you did that reach like that 20 or 30 times today. Now, you've done it 20 or 30 times a day for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. It's no wonder you're getting worse. And things aren't changing, and that's why, no matter all the exercises and the things that you do, you've still got the problem. Because your muscle memory hasn't changed. You're still working against gravity. The solution: best balance. If you can do something about improving your best balance, then you're on the way to becoming pain-free. I'd like to give you another example because we've got, along with keep your back straight, we've also got bend your knees. And this is contributing to the back pain and the knee pain. So I want you to stand up again, if you're sat down in the meantime, and I'll show you something else. We've always been told to bend our knees. Now, as you start to go down, just start to bend your knees. As your knees go down, your back stays kind of vertical. And just come back up again. Just begin to go down. The first movement you do is with the knees, and you start to go down and you crouch down. If you've got sore knees, don't push through the pain. That's only your body telling yourself that you're damaging yourself, so trust yourself and don't do that. We're going to find a way to do this without straining. So we're going to use that same little movement we did with the hip pivot. Our back is going to go way away from vertical. So we're going to go backwards, 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 backwards. Your knee will go soft now, but I want you to put your bottom further out the back and let your back tip right over so that you can rest your elbows on your knees. Just, not forearms on thighs, elbows on knees, so your back is right over. And just stay there, pause there for a moment, and maybe feel the weight down on your feet. Maybe it's even, or you feel that 70-30 down on your feet. Come back up again. We'll just try one more of those. Go backwards, backwards, backwards until you feel that little tug. As your knees go soft, let your knees round out more, wider than your toes, so you rest your elbows on your knees. And come back up again. One more, please. Out the back, a little bit of repetition to help feel this strange and different movement. Rest your elbows on your knees. And that will feel pretty strange to a lot of people. But how does your back feel? How do your knees feel? Come back up again. So this time, we're going to bend our knees. All we're going to do, bend your knees, go down, keep going down, slowly keep going, and keep your back up straight. And where's the weight going in your feet? For most of you, it'll be going to the front already. If someone gave you a nudge from behind, you're going to fall again. Come back up again. And that feels stiff or tight or uncomfortable in your knees for a lot of people. Just do that again. Bend your knees, go down, and you see that sensation of stiffness in your knees is not stiff. That's strain. I'll show you something. The shin bone here has a platform on the top. Thigh bone has a round end. When that knee drives forward, the platform tips over and the thigh bone shears across the top, bangs into the kneecap, The white glossy surfaces grind against each other, and that shear gives you that tight feeling, stiffness in your knee. Again, it's not stiffness, it's strain. You're straining yourself. So try it again. Bend your knees, feel the strain, and come back up again. Now this time, move your hip first. Let your back tip right over. Allow your knees to round out wide. Don't let that knee travel forward at all. Rest your elbows on your knees. How does that feel in your knees? And I know that everyone feels, oh, so much better. It's taken all the stiffness, all the strain off your knees. So come back up again. Bend your knees. Bend your knees, and now do 200 of those a day to your knee for 50 years. And you've got osteoarthritis, wear and tear occurring in your knees. So let me ask you this. Bend your knees. Try it. Bend your knees. Come back up again. Now move your hip first. Let your trunk deviate from vertical. Round your knees out. Which of those two versions feels better for your body? Now, right now, you're going to have to trust yourself. Listen to your body and then call the shot. And I know that 100% of people say, when I move my hip. Our hip should move first. When we're taking our hands down to pick something off the floor, the knees round out, the back goes away from vertical. So we carry our perfect balance down in our feet. And when you keep your back straight, bend your knees, you strain yourself. So keep your back straight, bend your knees, as we have been told to do by experts and we've heard it from someone all our life, is causing the problem. Now there's a big challenge. Can you move your hip first, let your trunk move, don't keep it straight, and at that point you'll start to find your freedom. The spine's not even straight to start with, it's actually an S-bend. A competition lifter can make their back straight, but it's horizontal, not vertical. So, I hope that helps you.